How did this happen? You don't want to end up here. Trust me. Let's rewind. Oh, hey. I'll start by saying that checking your oil is the most important thing you can do for your vehicle. And this goes for any vehicle, not just old ones, because it can happen to anyone. While older vehicles are more susceptible, it really is a concern for anyone with a car that has high miles on it, anywhere between 75 to 100,000 or more. But this should be a maintenance task for everyone, not just those with old vehicles or high mileage. So why is it bad when your car runs low on oil? Well, for starters, if you've ever fallen on carpet and gotten a rug burn, then you know that rubbing against things doesn't feel good. Unless... The same can be said about your engine. All the parts inside are rubbing against each other, so your engine has an oil pump, forcing oil to flow between them, which makes everything move smoothly. If you let your oil run low, you run the risk of parts not getting oil on them, which can damage them. Or the oil can heat up too much and break down. Worst case, your engine will literally explode, and then your car is dead. Then how do we prevent this? Easy, by checking the oil level regularly. If the vehicle is new to you, you should check the oil every day before you drive it to see that the level is unchanging, as well as check underneath the car to see if it's dripping. If you've had this vehicle a long time, you can get away with checking it once a week or even more, but you should be checking it regularly just to verify that it's there and at the right level, especially right before leaving on a road trip. But that leads us to what we're here for. How do you check the oil? First, you're going to want to park your car on a completely level surface in all directions. This only works if you're on a flat surface. We are checking the height of a fluid, so obviously if your car is sitting crooked, it's going to make the fluid sit at weird angles, and then the height won't be measured correctly when we look. If you just finished driving your car, you will also need to wait about 5 to 10 minutes or more before checking it, because when the engine is running, the oil pump fills the top of the engine with oil, so when you shut it off, you'll have to wait for all that oil to drain back down to the bottom so that you can get a proper reading. Now that you're ready to check your oil for real, you should get your hood open. If you've never opened the hood before, there should be some type of release lever on the driver's side floor or door frame area. You'll know because it will have a picture of the hood on it. Hopefully. You most likely have a secondary lever under here too, so you'll need to find and hold open that one to get the hood open all the way. And if you comment that you drive a mid-engine car, I'm going to kill you. Pause don't work very well. Under the hood, you want to look for a loop thing sticking out of the engine somewhere. You'll have to figure out where yours is and what it looks like, since all cars are different. Mine is right here in the front, and I painted it fluorescent orange, because I can. Now past this point it gets pretty dirty, so you mind if I just... At this point, you'll pull the oil dipstick out and look at the level on the end of it. If your car was driven recently, it will probably have oil all over the dipstick, so you'll need to take your paper towel and wipe the stick clean. Then, if I can get it in there, you'll reinsert it all the way back into the base. That part is important. Then slowly pull it out again and get the actual reading. Looking at the dipstick, you'll see where your oil level should be. Better lay it down because it wouldn't focus. So, your dipstick will either have markings, lines, holes, notches, or something like these to show you where the full and add lines are. I like to keep it at the top because more oil is better, but don't put it past the full line because that can be bad too. If your oil is low, you can add more through the oil filler cap at the top of the engine. Yours may be hidden by a plastic engine cover or something like that, so you may need to look online to see where it is. They also usually say what type of oil your engine needs. You fill it using a funnel. Let's see if I have one. Funnel. And pouring a small amount in, then checking the level again until you get it where you want it. If you overfill it very slightly, it'll probably be fine, but try your best not to. On here, you can see my oil is good, but it is very dark colored and past its mileage, so it definitely needs to be changed. That leads us to our next part, changing the oil. Once your oil gets old, you want to change it out. You can never verify the quality of your oil unless you take it to an analyzer, so it's better to change it out sooner rather than later, and especially don't wait until it turns black. As the oil ages, it gathers soot from the engine running because gas doesn't burn very clean, and over time the heat cycling can cause the oil molecules to break down and make the oil not perform as well. Common interval is to change the oil around 3,000 miles. You can also perform a sniff test to see if it smells burnt. To change your oil, you will need several things, so let's list them off. A new jug of oil. Check your owner's manual to see how many quarts and what type you need. A new oil filter. An oil drain pan, which must be big enough to hold more than the capacity of your engine. Nitrile gloves, because used engine oil does cause skin cancer, so you're trying to protect yourself here. A plastic waterproof tarp or cardboard to put underneath, because there definitely will be spills, so you're trying to protect your floor and make it easy to clean up. The oil funnel, a new drain bolt washer, which I don't have one here. If yours is not reusable, mine is reusable, so I'm going to be using one of those. And then you will also need a wrench to get the bolts off for the oil drain pan. Use a 6-point, never a 12-point. That means hex shape, not star. Basically, find one that's an exact match for your bolt head. And possibly an oil filter remover if you had a shop previously change your oil, since they like tightening them down a ridiculous amount. Use your new filter as a guide for what size you need. You may also want some degreaser and paper towels. That way, if you do have any spills, you can clean them up easily. I like to always have oil and an oil filter at my house, so I can change the oil anytime I need to without having to go to the store first. Another thing to note, if it's your first time changing the oil, have a friend with you that has a working vehicle in case something unexpected happens so that you're not stranded. Like if you don't have enough oil, or you got the wrong filter, or your filter got stuck and doesn't come off. You also need to change your oil filter every time you change the oil because you can't verify the integrity of the filter media inside, so don't cheap out. Now, the service manual says to drive your car around for about 10 minutes before you change the oil because it warms it up and stirs up any debris so that it can drain out. This isn't completely necessary, but it helps to drain the oil thoroughly. For this next part, I like to drain the oil before I remove the filter, but that's because I installed my last filter so I know it will be easy to remove. You may want to remove your filter first because that's the most difficult part. The actual act varies by vehicle, so you'll have to look up where your filter and oil pan drain bolt are on your car. If it's a newer vehicle, they're probably covered by some type of plastic or metal skid plate that you'll have to remove before you have access to them. Well, it's butt inspection time. Once you're ready and can reach your drain bolt and filter, go ahead and position the oil drain pan underneath the bolt or the filter with your cardboard or plastic underneath, since the oil will probably splash out. And unscrew the oil pan bolt. Reposition the drain pan as it pulls out if you need to. We use nitrile gloves here to protect our hands because used engine oil can give you cancer. It's also hot and can burn you, so be careful. You can see as it's draining out that my oil pan comes with a little shelf built in so it catches any debris in the oil. This is so you can inspect it after it drains to see if there's anything bad in it, like metal shavings. If you see copper shavings in your oil, that's very bad, and it means your engine is on its way out. If you have to keep your car until it dies, you can try to prolong its life by swapping to a heavier weight oil. So for example, if your car is rated for 1030, you should go up to 1540. If you don't have one like that, you can let your oil sit for a while, and then as you drain the pan out later, you can look at the bottom of it to see if there's anything noticeable. Removing your oil filter is a similar method. You position the pan under where the oil will drip out as you unscrew it. It very well may drip out and make a mess. If it's too hot to the touch, you can unscrew it slowly and let the oil drip out before continuing so that you don't make too much of a mess. Once you get it completely unscrewed, carefully set it on your oil pan somewhere where you can tilt it downwards so it can also drain out. Look at the inside surface to verify the rubber O-ring is still on the oil filter and not stuck to the car. This is a common mistake that happens often and causes oil to leak out rapidly when you start the car. Don't let that happen. At this point, you can leave your car to finish draining for about an hour or so, however long you feel like waiting. You can also get started right away if you don't have time to wait. Get some paper towels and degreaser and wipe off the oil pan bolt and washer. Then wipe off the oil pan bolt hole before quickly installing the bolt. I always install the pan bolt first so I don't forget. Wipe off the oil filter housing surface as well to remove any dirt or grime on it. Then open the new oil and dip your finger in to get some. And completely saturate the oil filter rubber sealing ring. This is necessary so that your filter can be installed to the right tightness without leaking. Wipe some on the car engine filter housing surface as well, wherever the rubber surface makes contact with it on the engine. Now you can screw in your oil filter and tighten it pretty tight, but not extremely tight, so that you can remove it yourself again later when you change the oil the next time. Okay, with your drain plug and filter installed, you're now ready to put in the new oil. So get your funnel and place it just like if you were topping off your oil when checking it previously. Look at how much your owner's manual says you need and pour in some of that, not all of it, while checking the dipstick to watch the oil level. The new oil will be a bit harder to see on it, so you may need to check the level a few times. Once the level is near the full mark, you'll want to put the oil cap back on the engine, and then start your car and run it for about 30 seconds. And please, if you're in a garage like me, at least open the garage door before doing that. This is so the oil pump can fill the oil filter and cycle the oil around the engine. After that, shut it off again and let it sit for about 10 minutes, then check the level again and fill it up to the full line. Then you're done. You can now wipe clean any oil spills and put the filler cap back on. And one final thing, if you have an oil change sticker, a lot of the auto stores give them to you for free. So you can stick this up here on the corner of your windshield so you can always see it while you're driving, or just somewhere where it's visible. And you can either write your current mileage or the mileage where you need your next oil change. That way you can track it afterwards. You've now successfully changed your oil. After I'm finished, I like to start the car and run it again while looking underneath. That way I can see if anything is leaking. And the very last thing, when you close your hood, push it down all the way so it closes completely. Otherwise it'll fly up while you're driving. Thanks for choosing my video out of all the ones on here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Ow!